Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode, we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Jon Chintanaroad, entrepreneur, recruiter, and founder of Recruiting Launch, a program designed to help professionals start and grow their own recruiting business. After building his own recruiting agency, Jon realized that recruiting is one of the few businesses you can start with very little capital and scale quickly by helping companies solve one of their biggest challenges, hiring great people. Through Recruiting Launch, he has helped hundreds of professionals launch recruiting businesses, land their first clients, and start generating revenue through candidate placements. Jon, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me, Olivia.
It's a pleasure, and I'm very much excited to dive in and learn a little bit more about your journey. So, Jon, with all of my guests, I do actually like to start at the beginning. So if you don't mind briefly taking me back to what it was you was doing before you started up Recruiting Launch, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, like every recruiter, I kind of fell into it because no one ever goes to school and like majors in recruiting in university, right? So I just walked into a staffing, a temp agency looking for a job, and they recruited me to work for them as a recruiter. And I never really even thought of this as a career, but I always thought of myself as a people person, as a natural connector. So I thought, you know what? Sure, like I like talking to people, and if I can help people find jobs and get paid, like that seems like a good career. So I started there, and I quickly realized though that the real money was made by uh, placing candidates that had a high salary because for those who don't know, typical recruiting agencies or firms, they charge 20% of a candidate's first year base salary as a fee. So if you recruit someone with a $100,000 salary, then your fee will be 20% or 20,000. Now, of course,
Yeah.
that goes to the agency, not you. Recruiters, as an employee, we get a fraction of that. So I thought, hey, I'll just go work at tech recruiting and place highly paid engineers because they make big salaries. So I did that. That started working out well. But I felt kind of torn because I was doing all the work and getting paid a tiny fraction, like the crumbs of the entire fee that I was bringing to the house. So I felt like I was making my boss rich and not me. So I decided to try my hand at corporate recruiting. Went to work at Google. Six-figure salary. It was cushy. Lots of gourmet meals. I could ride scooter around the campus. It was really fun. But then I thought realized it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. It was stressful. People at corporate recruiting, you only recruit for that one client, your employer. But people are always being afraid of getting laid off or hiring freeze. They will lose their job. So it was just stress 24/7. So lastly, when I ended that job, I ended up deciding to start my own recruiting business. I said, you know, I've been doing this for a while. Why not just give it a shot? And what I found out though was that I really struggled with how to get clients. How do I brand myself? What type of niche do I focus on? And so I did everything the hard way through trial and error and eventually kind of figured it out. Around that time, a lot of my old coworkers were asking me for help to go solo too. They're like, Jon, my boss changed my commission structure, or I'm tired of, all the meetings and everything else. Like, I want to start my own recruiting business. Can you show me like what you did? And just by showing them the ropes, like giving them my playbook that I developed for myself, I was surprised how quickly they were able to ramp up. It took them weeks and months to really scale up that it took me years. So that's how I fell in love with coaching. And that kind of one-on-one coaching led to me creating a program. It was originally a group coaching program, like, hey, sign up, watch our videos, and just reach out to us if you get stuck. But now we've evolved to more of a done for you, hands-on, one-on-one, where we build the recruiting business for people. We optimize their niche, we build their branding, we give one-on-one support all the way. We have a guarantee that they make their first placement. So that's been really fun and rewarding to now help people that I still remember where how lost I felt when I was trying to do this myself.
100%. And I feel like there's so many people that can resonate with the story because, as you say, it's like it's one being very good at your job, which is recruiting. But if you don't know off the back of that, if you want to move on and do your own thing, running a business is a whole different ball game. You know, it is like you have to go out and acquire your own customers, research your own stuff. You're not just kind of going through the same day-to-day stuff that you would do in just that one role. So I love the fact that you're bridging that gap and helping other people kind of grow to those heights that they want to do too.
Yeah.
Now, you obviously mentioned there's a couple of pivots you've gone out. So currently you're on like a done for you service. So what is it like to work with you then, Jon? Like how is it you kind of like what is your style or your approach to the coaching aspect of it?
Yeah, so it's funny, like after working now, with I think well over 400 people over the last 5 years, we see patterns. And where people get tripped up when starting their own recruiting business is either they pick the wrong niche or their branding looks off, so hiring managers don't reply back to them. Their message sounds like every other recruiting vendor trying to reach out to the company, or when they try to set up automations to scale their outreach, they get tripped up with the tech piece. So for that reason, we decided to do all that for them. So we take that all off their plate. We implement everything one on one. My head of client strategy, Jesse, he started and scaled his agency and sold it after 3 years for 7 million. So like that's the quality of people on the team that we deploy. And we have a branding person and automation expert. So then 2 weeks later, they're no longer in like the think about it, like brainstorming phase. They're fully operational in 2 weeks and already generating conversations with hiring managers. And then we coach them along one-on-one with sales and recruiting training and everything else to really make sure that they get clients and make placements. So we try to remove as much friction as possible for people to do this. And then we back everything up with a money back guarantee because we stand behind our work. So it's everything I wish I had in my day one. But back when I first started over 10 years ago, there were no coaches and people helping out with this. I just had to figure out everything on my own, made a lot of expensive mistakes and have a lot of scars to show for it. So it's nice to kind of give that which I wish I had back then.
Yeah, exactly that. You're in that perfect position where you can give back to other people. And as you say, learn from my experiences, learn from my mistakes, and take it forward from there. And so much of what you're describing, naturally, most founders struggle with anyway. So just putting that directly to your expertise and your niche is such a beautiful thing because it makes it so specialized. You know exactly what the ins and outs of that role are. And then from there, we're just helping with that fluff to get you going and moving forward from there. And actually, if you
Yeah.
have 4,000, if you've worked with 400 plus people at this point, kudos to the work you're doing because it's obviously is doing a good thing. One
Yeah,
thing I'm
thank
very
you.
curious to find out though is how you go back like acquiring your own customers. So like in terms of channels or methods, like what are you finding most effective at the moment in just finding those right people to work with?
Yeah, I because most of my because I'd say half of the people we work with are recruiters, corporate or agency recruiters, and the other half are working professionals, right? They don't have a formal recruiting background, but they're able to more than make up for that just by having so much industry expertise.
Yeah.
And they're like natural people persons that when they leverage their people skills and their domain experience, that it makes it really easy for them to build rapport with hiring managers because they work in that field already. So all those people are on LinkedIn. So that's why most of our marketing is on LinkedIn, both through reaching out to recruiters on LinkedIn, asking if they've ever thought about starting their own business, right? And doing it. And the cool thing is that everyone can do this without quitting their day job, right? People think
Yeah.
to start my own business, I have to quit my 9 to 5. It's way too risky, right? We never recommend that. So instead, like on LinkedIn, we'll reach out to recruiters saying, hey, saw that you're recruiting, and we help recruiters who want to start their own firm and keep 100% of the fees that they earn without having to quit their 9 to 5. Like, has this ever crossed your mind? So really just natural, normal. And then we post on LinkedIn and we believe in just kind of like spreading the word and sharing success stories of our clients. And of course, people are interested in that and they'll reach out to me.
Yeah, it's a great way to build trust, as you say, building those success stories, using those testimonials. And you're doing outreach, which is a pretty cool aspect. I think LinkedIn is beautiful for that reason. As you say, you naturally your ICP is living on LinkedIn because they're finding their own client base on there as well. So it's a nice double-edged sword you have. Do you run
Yeah.
any form of advertisements or even use any other platforms to maybe drive to more traffic towards yourself and just keep it a little bit more consistent?
Yeah, good question. Because right, LinkedIn is great. We found the hard way last year that it's seasonal, where summertime, right? People are on holidays, they're not really
Yeah.
thinking about work as much. So for that reason, we're like, hey, let's make sure next summer we don't hit the slump in lead flow because of LinkedIn being primarily active when people are working. So we started adding YouTube on there. So I'll make some content on YouTube every now and again. I'm launching a webinar this Wednesday. So I'm doing a weekly webinar that's going to organic, but eventually we'll drive some ad traffic to that to fill up the webinar. And I think the webinar is nice because the idea of it's nice because I think right now there's kind of a trust recession, right? You've heard that term going around where years ago, everyone and their cousin was a coach and guru, and people are kind of got burnt or afraid of like, okay, who can I trust these days, right? Or versus who's just trying to make a buck off of me. And so that's why everything I do is I'm trying to just do webinars and just give people a opportunity just to for me to meet them and them to
Yeah.
meet me and see how we work, and then we kind of let people. Yeah, so that's kind of how we do our marketing these days.
Yeah, beautiful. And a webinar, as you say, it's a great way to build trust with people. As you say, coaching is very oversaturated at the moment. And I think
Mhm.
since COVID, it's had its like moment in the sun. And as you say, everyone and their uncle is now calling themselves a coach. So it's very hard to find the people you can trust and the people you can work with the best. A webinar is a great way to do that, to just show off what you're doing and moving on from there. And I take it, do you have a team that help you out at all with like the back end stuff, or are you pretty much running the host show yourself still?
No, yeah, I have a team. I have yeah, my head coach Jesse is, he sold his agency for 7.5 million, and he's a top biller. So he's the person that I can literally say, hey, Jesse will work with you one on one. He's been there, done that. Everything that
Yeah,
you're looking to do, he's done it at scale. So I think he's qualified to support you. And we have a branding and design expert to build the brand. That's one thing that we overlooked in the beginning is that you can have good messaging, a good niche, but then if your LinkedIn profile looks a bit off, your LinkedIn company page, your website doesn't have that professional polish, of course, hiring managers are going to take a 2-second snap judgment and then might not reply. So, and people, again, they have a hard time making the design or they spend way too long making the perfect logo. So we just do it for them. So we have a branding person to just gives them that polish. And then we have an automation expert that sets up their campaigns so that way they don't touch any buttons so they can't break it before, people given their own accord will sometimes break it. They'll do it their own way or just, push buttons they weren't supposed to push. So now we just do it for them. So yeah, it feels nice to go away from like just coaching to more being like consultative and
yeah,
one-on-one and more done for you because that's how I buy services. When I want something done, like a website, like I don't want to learn how to do that. Just I'd rather pay someone money to do it for me. And that way I don't have to, it's one less thing for me to worry about. I can focus on my main thing. So,
yeah,
and the main thing that people want to focus on in recruiting is just talking to companies and talking to people and just recruiting. And they enjoy making that connection and basically being a professional matchmaker. And we kind of take care of the rest of the
yeah.
stuff for them.
Yeah, as you said, I think as a founder, you need to have a little bit of an idea of what's going on in every level, especially if you're scaling and at the early stages of which you're helping your recruiters at. But definitely, if you have like you want to be in your zone of genius, so if you can have somebody that can come in there, set you up, show you the ropes a little bit, and then from there you're on your way. You're teaching a man to fish for his life. So it is a say like take this and then move forward, and we can
Yeah.
move on. There's not the coaching aspect is a slightly longer, and it's a little bit like therapy sometimes when you're with these
Yes.
people. It's not so
Agreed.
straightforward. But
Yeah.
what are your visions for the company moving forward, John? Like maybe when you think of the next 6 to 12 months, what are the goals or the targets that you're hopefully looking forward to achieving?
Yeah, it's funny. Like I've been thinking about this term, like which is maybe an ugly word in a lot of marketing high ticket offers, is but the word enough. Like, what's my enough number? Because I've in the past never thought about that, so it's always more, 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 and that led me to scale the wrong way, and I've made lots of costly mistakes and painful mistakes in my life because I just never thought about like what is it do I want? So this might sound a little bit woo-woo, but I kind of worked backwards with the end in mind. Like, what do I want my life to look like with my family? We have a 3-year-old son. So this time next year, my goal is to be world schooling and traveling through Europe with our son, be able to make enough numbers to tell my wife she can quit our nursing job. We can go world travel and just, with our 3-year-old son and do world school. It's like homeschool, but around the world type of thing, right? So if you
Yeah.
want to learn about boats, we can go to like Malta and like visit like the go on a sailboat and learn about boats that way versus through a textbook. And so for me, that number is actually not that much because I'm in San Francisco. Everything's more expensive here. Out
Right.
there, like in Albania, like for 2K a month, you can live like royalty. And so for me, it's like, okay, how do I get to that enough number consistently without having me be involved with every aspect of the business? So my idea of scale is kind of getting to my enough number and maintaining it in the least stressful way possible while making sure my clients get the best results. So not the typical scale to, 500,000 to a million a year, like I think a lot of people talk about, which that used to be my numbers, but then I realized like, why am I doing all of this? My wife would say, why are you all stressed out? I'm like, I'm trying to scale to a million. They're actually like, why? I'm like, because that's what you're supposed to do, right? Like, so that's my kind of abstract answer for you.
Yeah, and as you say, but I think that's the beauty about being a business owner. As you say, you can bend that around your lifestyle. You set your own goals and your own version of success. Like, there's too much noise in the world at the moment about what road you should follow and what you look like because everyone else is doing it. So naturally, as you said there, your goal is to set that up so you, your son, your wife can travel the world, and that's a beautiful thing. So just taking enough for yourself and then moving on from there. And where are you
Yeah.
probably finding like the biggest challenge for yourself in either achieving that or within the current business?
Sure. I'd say at some point, like I am doing all my own enrollment calls. And I used to have like a three-person sales team, which is fine. I mean, we were able to scale up, but then of course, they would end up sometimes enrolling people that should not have been enrolled. And there was a whole like process to do QC and oversee them. And so I'm doing it now for now, just so that way I can handpick who you work with because I
Yeah.
think we are more done for you that like if I like I want to filter in the right people so that way my delivery team doesn't complain like, hey, why is this person enrolled? They can barely work a computer. Like I'm like, I don't know, like someone else enrolled them. And eventually, but to solve for that, I either have to go with like a one-to-many model where once my calendar's booked up, then either I just am capped and just be okay with having enough, right?
Yeah.
Or I can try to do like a group sales call model where it's like two or three people jump on the enrollment call, I chat with them, but I've never done that. That could be interesting, right? Could work or could not. Um, or maybe I do the webinar, I go straight to cart, like just like do that,
Straight to
right?
the, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So I haven't figured that out yet. Or maybe just one really good like coach who can also do enrollment. That way it's kind of a hybrid. I know some people do that. So
There's options.
that's TBD.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's options about even it, would you ever consider putting like instead of a sales team more of just a qualification step before it gets to you? So even you're taking less calls, but you know they're qualified coming onto your calendar.
Yeah. I think I thought about having like a yeah, no appointment setter is like a good model to
Yeah.
have. My count. An interesting thing with my market being on LinkedIn is like what the main question I ask is what's your LinkedIn profile, and I can click on that and I can just know they're qualified. I can know their whole life
Yeah.
story. I can kind of guesstimate their salary to a pretty accurate degree as a recruiter.
Yeah.
So I can just look at that, or if they don't have one, that's very telling. So I can kind of
Cool.
yeah, do a little bit of qualification just by looking at their LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And you do get a judge of once you've worked with a certain type of person enough, you can just read through the lines sometimes and take it from there.
Yeah, I
So it's
probably
just
will
like,
need to add some financial qualifier questions though. Eventually, once I'm maxed out, then I gotta be like, all right, like,
yeah.
do you got a couple dollars?
Let's tighten up the knot a little bit and take it from there. But yeah,
Yeah.
as you say, we can brainstorm and figure this one out. But John, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like to do so?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Jon Chintanaroad, or you can go to recruitinglaunch.com. And there's an intro video that explains kind of the process. There's lots of interviews with people that we worked with. And yeah, you should really get a good idea of whether or not this might be right for you. And there's a link to book a call if you ever want to chat with me and ask questions.
Beautiful stuff. And thank you again, John. I really appreciate your time today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to go and check out Jon Chintanaroad. Drop him a message. I'm sure he would love to hear from everybody. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from zero to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing and we'll see you on the next one.